I've never had an instance where she's come to me in a really, kind of magical, mystical way with the white light and telling me that she's okay and all of that. All of the dreams have been very negative and very scary. She's told me several times in my dreams that she doesn't know where she is. She's scared, she's alone, and that's really upset me. And I don't know how to get her out of there, or if I even can from where I stand in the physical. So if you could tell me where she is, and if she's not in a good place, if I could help her get to somewhere that is good, because my mom was a really good person when she was on planet Earth in the physical. Thank you.
She is in spirit and she is fine. What you are experiencing is a reflection of something going on within you about your own fears. She's bringing them out in you, but it's not about her. It's about you. We cannot go deeply into this if we cannot communicate more directly with this person at this time, because there are things we would need to explore in depth. But it's not about her. It's about you, and something she is attempting to get you to look at that is a fear within yourself, in your belief system. She is fine.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day. What would you like to discuss this day?
Sure. So I guess I have a couple questions. Probably sound a little bit weird, but a couple months ago I had, I guess I was awake in bed. I looked over at my wife, on my wife's side, and the pillow turned into like almost like a face. And it was very distinct. It was a man's face with a big beard. And at the time, I didn't know who that was or anything. And I ended up looking it up, and it looked like it was the face of like an Anunnaki. Or when I looked at it further, it kind of showed that it was Enki, I believe. And it looked at me and it said, no, no, no. Now, I wasn't fearful or scared or anything. I was just kind of like in a bit of shock. So I looked at it, and then I realized later it wasn't saying no, no, no. It was saying no, 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 like as in
K-N-O-W.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I guess my first question is like, why did I see that? What does that all mean? What's it trying to tell me? What do I need to know?
Well, you were in the proper state to receive direct communication from another level, from interdimensional spirit realms that allow you to know that you can be more than you are, that you are more than you are as a physical being, that you're connecting to the guides that you have, connecting to the information and knowledge that you need to know. How did it feel vibrationally?
I mean, I guess I was kind of shocked, just like trying to talk myself that what I was seeing was real and that it wasn't made up or anything.
All right. But I'm not asking you how you felt emotionally. How did you feel vibrationally?
I guess I felt kind of excited.
All right. Then remember that feeling, because that's the vibrational state to come from in all the actions you do in life that are representative of your truth, your passion, who you really are. They're giving you an opportunity to recognize what your true vibrational state is, your natural state, your core essential vibration. So, and it's also a reminder of the ancient wisdom, which is why it kind of came in a representation of a very ancient form. Know thyself, K-N-O-W. So the idea is the more you know yourself, the more you will be your true self, the more you will express your true self, the more you will constantly operate on that vibrational state that was reflected to you in that moment when you were kind of out of the way, when your physical mind was willing to open up and allow you to receive that particular reminder, that particular reflection at that time.
Okay, perfect. So then this brings me back to another experience that I had in my mid-20s. Again, I was in bed. My wife was beside me. Her father had just passed away. So at the time, I saw a figure in the room. It was very tall with long fingers. It walked over to my wife's side of the bed. And again, I was trying to question myself whether I was seeing things or not. And then I saw the pillow move, and I knew right away that this was real. And I woke her up and told her about it. And then later on, after I started following some of the stuff you were saying, I'm not sure if it was her dad that I was seeing, but if it was maybe something else. I was hoping you could shed some light on that.
It was something else. The father energy was present as well, but what you were seeing was something else that has to do with extra-dimensional and extraterrestrial connections and participation in what we call the hybridization agenda and the evolution of humanity.
So was that me being a participant in that, or was that my wife being a participant in that?
At the moment, your wife at that time, but your awareness of it is because you are participating in another way.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. In the last several weeks, I heard you speak in Sedona, and since then we've had multiple sightings of flashing lights. Once in Sedona and 3 times in Kelowna, BC, where I live. And I'm just wondering, why am I seeing this so much lately? Including my wife and my family are seeing it too now. We're all seeing it in.
Because you allowed yourself to wake up to the fact that there is a different reality around you that was heretofore invisible. Any time that you're willing to expand your consciousness, your senses expand along with it to allow you to see what is around you all the time, but most people don't ordinarily see.
So these aren't ships that I'm seeing, right? They're
Yes, some of them are. Some of them can be entities unto themselves. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of activity around your planet. It's just that most people don't see it because they're not on the same wavelength.
Okay.
But once your senses expand, once your senses sharpen, then you can see things that you couldn't see before. That becomes what you call your new normal.
And my senses can be sharpened further by practicing the formula, I assume.
Well, yes, by acting on it, yes.
Okay.
If that is what you mean by practicing.
Yes. May I ask one more question after this question?
Go ahead. And thank you for your cleverness.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just trying to be, I wasn't trying to be clever. I just wanted to make sure that,
That was not an admonition.
Okay.
It was a compliment.
Oh, thank you. So my last question was, again, I live in Kelowna, BC, on the Okanagan Lake, and here there's tales of the Ogopogo. And again, our family has felt like we've seen a few instances where we've seen it. Is the legend of the Ogopogo real? Is it harmful to us?
It is not harmful to you. It is real, but again, you're dealing with interdimensional beings that can come and go, which is why it is seen so infrequently.
So
similar to the idea of Sasquatch and Yeti.
Okay. Have I seen it lately? Like, is that real what I'm seeing then, like in the water?
Sometimes. Sometimes it is a trick of the light. Sometimes it is an alteration of perception into a different reality and not in yours. So you have to be able to discern and tell the difference, what reality you're looking at. And sometimes it's in what you consider to be your typical reality. So it just depends.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Bashar.
Our unconditional appreciation to you as well. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. I'm wondering if you can provide me information about a species of extraterrestrial beings I met during an astral projection. I saw a male and female of this race. They were very, very lean, extremely low body fat, and dense, ripped muscles on their arms. They had ridges along the side of their face, and they were wearing a black and yellow garment that looked sort of like leather, and it reminded me of the fusion jacket from Dragon Ball Z. It also had ridges along the arms. The fusion jacket is interesting because that makes me think, well, maybe these are hybrids, as they're alluding to fusion. And I'd also like to comment that the name Varya came to me, and I'm wondering maybe these beings are connected to the Virgo constellation. Please expand if you can. Thanks.
What you were given is a projection, an interpretation. You are not seeing the beings as they actually are. This is a race of beings we are not allowed to discuss at this time, but that you are connected to. It does have to do with Virgo, but that's all we can say. But what you saw is not exactly what they are. It was made up of an interpretation of things from your mind so that you would have something to relate to. These encounters can continue, and you may gain more familiarity with them over time. But it is not our job to discuss this further.
Hello.
Good day, good day.
Good day, Bashar. So excited to see you.
We thank you. It is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
So my first question is, which which extraterrestrial race do I have? Do I have any connections with any extraterrestrial race like the Sirius or Bosnia in location?
All humans have connections to extraterrestrial races. The ones that are most common for humanity are the beings from the Sirius star system, the Pleiadian star system, the ancient Orion systems, Arcturus energy, hybrids, grays, Lyrans sometimes, tall whites, Andromeda galaxy, so on and so forth, plus several others we're not allowed to discuss. But all humans to varying degrees and at different moments have stronger or weaker connections that they download information and experience from to all of these different ET races that are involved with the evolution of Earth.
Okay, thank you. And so do I have any, extended family members on the other side who are, whom I might meet at some point?
Yes, you all have soul family members that are non-physical.
Okay, so that when open contact happens, we get to meet them. Is that?
You're talking about extraterrestrials, you're talking about spirits. Because when you say family members on the other side, it means spirits.
Extraterrestrials. Like
Yes.
extraterrestrial, like people.
You may meet some of your extraterrestrial counterparts when open contact occurs, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And another one is about the Judeo-Christian culture. I think you spoke about the Merovingian bloodline. Are they still around?
They are. It goes all the way back to the idea of the Anunnaki bloodlines. So it still exists in many individuals. It exists in all of you to some degree. Some individuals, some strains, some cultures have a little bit more of it, more direct route to it than others, but it exists in all of you.
Okay. What, with regards to the wars that are, a lot of divisions that we see today, and also, with regards to steps or methods do you recommend to resolve many of these clashes or conflicts and, and the climate as a whole for the Earth? Like, what do you recommend the best path? What course of action do you think we should, both as individuals and as a collective?
It is very important to let go of fear-based beliefs, negative beliefs, to have understanding and compassion for each other, that each of you walk a different path for a good reason, that there isn't just one way to do things, that there are several ways to do things, as indicated by the number of individual paths that exist, that it all leads to the same place, it all leads home, it all leads to the same source, it all comes from the same source, and to let go of the idea that you have the only truth, the only perspective that counts, but to understand and validate the individual differences among all of you to create true unity, true harmony.
But when people give you opinions or truths per se, so how do you settle, or how do you so is it like a subject to, is it completely subject to what works for each individual, or is there an ideal path which would, works best for most people? Because if more,
This is why we give
agree
you
on,
this is why we give you the formula. And the only reason most people don't agree is because they're too caught up in their own belief system and not really looking at the fundamental reasons why those beliefs exist. Once you examine those beliefs and let go of the ones that are truly no longer relevant for you, truly not representative of your core frequency, there will be no disagreement. There will be validation of the differences, and the differences will be seen in a different light. And they will be seen as different ways to reach the same source. So you have to let go of the fear-based and negative beliefs to see it that way.
Okay. So that's part of how we end up activating many of our genetic markers.
By following the formula, you raise your vibration. By raising your vibrational frequency, you activate the genetic markers that are relevant for you at this time to allow for the expansion of consciousness.
Thank you. And finally, do you have any personal advice for me as an individual, like what I should do, what path I should take, or
Follow the formula.
with regards to
Follow the formula
Okay.
as precisely as
Thank
possible,
you.
because you are unique, and therefore you have your way of expressing your passion and acting as a living example to others of how they can do so for themselves as well. So just by following the formula precisely, then you will be doing everything you can possibly do to serve humanity, which will then in turn serve you.
I like when I follow the formula at many points, I encounter, divisions. I mean, not divisions, but how do I say, difference of opinion and difference of interest when it comes to language and how we communicate. Is there at some point where those get resolved?
Absolutely. Because again, when you raise your frequency, you become more and more empathic and telepathic, and you know what each other are thinking without necessarily using the languages. The languages will start to fall away when you allow yourselves to identify and feel what others are feeling, to relate to it, to understand it, to have compassion for it. When you fall in love with one another, you will speak a different language. Does that help you?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we thank you.
Yes,
Aveo.
absolutely.
Good
Thank
day.
you so much. Aveo. Day. See you, Bashar.
Where I had gotten a big black cube that was sitting on my dining room table. I didn't know what it was or where it came from, and I told them that, and they said that I had wished for it when I was younger, and they mentioned a song that I used to sing from my favorite Disney movie, and then they took me out the window with them, and I also felt this buzzing and vibration in the back of my head. I was just wondering if you could give me any information on that, or if you knew. I'm really curious as to what the black box was, because they said I wished for it and I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure out what it is. So thank you.
It is the truth about your being and your connection to them and your participation in the hybridization agenda. It was put into the black box so that it would open at the time when it was important for you to remember. It was hidden away until such time as it is important for you to remember your participation in the hybridization agenda. And what you experienced was a memory, not a dream. The buzzing is the effect of transitioning to a different vibrational reality. That's how your body interprets the change in frequency from one reality to another. It's not uncommon for people to experience that in having encounters that shift you to a different reality. It is often accompanied by a vibrational sound.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
Bashar, I feel like the language as we use it here has no adequate words to express how grateful I am for this opportunity of this exchange. And I would just like to say, with the words that I do have, thank you so much to you, to Darryl, and all the people behind the scenes who make this production and make this interaction possible.
It is our passion and our pleasure to do so, and it is our deep appreciation for the co-creation of this interaction to you.
Thank you. So I knew that I have just very little time with you today, and I was wondering, if synchronicity will show me what kind of questions I should ask. And then yesterday, I saw a huge Dalmatian dog in front of my house, which is quite rare because it's not a dog race that is common here where I live. And I thought, okay, now I got the clue. And the reason why I won this raffle was a dream. I dreamt about the baby that was dressed in a blue overall. It looked to me like a few months old, but it said something that was so funny that my husband and I laughed really, this heartfelt laugh that you don't get often. And I asked it, how come you're so eloquent and so small? And he said something that I can't remember. And then I said, how old are you? And he said, 13 years. And I thought, how come he's so small? This can't be. When I woke up, I thought, wait a minute, this speech pattern that the baby had, this is Bashar, or his people talk like that. I remembered a study that was done with Darryl where they studied the content of the information that he was giving when he's channeling you. And I thought, okay, that has to do something with Bashar, with this whole dream. And I thought, okay, what happened 13 years ago? I have no idea. And then I looked back at my dreams and I realized that 14 months ago, I had another dream where I was in a blue tube, again, this same blue, this eclectic blue, and I was talking with an ET. And this tube was like a frequency protector. So I was safe from the frequency that the ET was emitting, and we were so able to have a conversation. But I was still in this blue-black tube. And we were talking about Croatia or Dalmatia, hence the dog, yes. who I thought is the sign that I should be talking about that. And because I was clearly agitated in the dream, but in a positive sense during the dream, my husband woke me up because he was thinking I'm struggling. And then I lost the conversation and I was thinking, oh no, the ETs will think I'm so rude. I just disappeared without saying goodbye or something. And I have no idea what was spoken about, but I know it was about Dalmatia. So maybe you can shed some light on that.
First and foremost, do you remember what the child said that had you laughing?
No, unfortunately not.
All right. Remember that you are part of the hybridization program. You understand this?
I understand it since the 25th of March this year.
All right. Well, the child was a hybrid child. It wasn't me. It is a hybrid child that is connected to you.
Okay.
So, yes?
Does my husband also have hybrid children?
You both do, yes. Your genetics have been used, both of you, in the hybridization program. The idea is that the child is awakening within you more understanding, more expansion of consciousness, because again, the age of 13 is the symbol of transformation, the symbol of change, the symbol of letting go of the old ways and beginning the new ways, the symbol of a new cycle. So in that transformation, you are awakening to your participation, to the realization of your participation in the hybridization program. And this can carry you forward as an energy, as a momentum, into further exploration and further understanding of the role you can play in your area in helping with the awakening by being a living example of following the formula, following your passions, living your joys, living your dreams, acting through them in a way that allows others to see that they can do so as well. Do you understand?
I do.
So, much of the conversation that you were having in those encounters were taking place in a slightly altered reality. And the idea of the blue is a vibration that was acting as a buffer for the vibration of the ET, so you would not be overwhelmed. The idea then is to live up to the frequency that represents your higher self, your soul. And in what ways, I'm asking you, are you able to do that on your planet? How can you be of service to humanity by acting on your passions?
I think by what comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind is that I used to be working as a counselor,
Yes.
and I have overcome a lot of physical challenges, health challenges, and
All
all
right.
kinds of challenges. And I think this is an example that no matter what happens, I can still stay in a positive state, irrespective of.
You can transform. You can transform whatever it is and turn it into a lesson that expands your soul.
Yes.
So why is it that you used to be a counselor?
Because right now I'm a student again. I'm studying meditation. I want to become a meditation teacher.
All right.
And
And so this is exciting to you, yes?
not
No.
100%. Not 100%. I have to tell you, since I was informed that I want this interaction with you, I had another dream that really turned my life upside down. And would you permit me now to tell you the dream?
Briefly, yes.
Yes. So I had a dream that I was waiting for a bus, and next to me was a man in a wheelchair, and he wanted to go onto the bus, but took my luggage. And I said, "Sir," he was an army veteran, and I said, "Sir, this is my luggage." And then because I was pulling him back, he couldn't enter the bus. But because he was going forward towards the bus, I look at the bus and I see several mantis being standing on the bus. And I'm intrigued, benevolently intrigued. And I say to him, "Oh, look, there are mantis." And he said, "Oh, now I really have to get onto that bus." And the bus was going over a bridge from small city to big city. And the mantis were so alert. They were looking into the direction of where the bus was about to drive. And the air was filled with this alertness. You could cut it with a knife. That's how it felt to me. And I was thinking, okay, I'll go too. And then when I woke up, I asked my husband, "What do you know about the mantis?" And he said, "Not much." And I said, "I know nothing. I've heard the word, but I knew nothing." And then I started researching, and since then, I'm still grappling to fit it all together.
All right.
I read that they're connected with the Sasani, and I was thinking,
They are connected to the hybridization program. They are the overseers.
exactly. If somebody had asked me just 3 weeks ago, "Do you want to learn more about the mantis?" I would have politely said, "No, thank you," because I thought I'm not interested at all in anything insect. And now I think, oh my God, I must be somehow connected with the hybridization program. Otherwise, I wouldn't be dreaming so rapidly after.
All right. The symbology is mixed up with an actual presentation on a slightly different level of reality of getting on a ship with the mantises, and the idea of the veteran who is in a wheelchair grabbing your bags is an indication that it is important to let go of old baggage that holds you back in order for you to move forward and join on that ship with the mantises to go from a smaller reality to a larger reality, which is what the bridge represents, going from a smaller city to a larger city. So it's about really letting go of the old baggage, because that baggage holds you back, and allowing yourself to be free enough to move forward, to get on the bus, so to speak, to go in that direction, and to expand your consciousness. Does that help you?
Yeah, that does help me. How is the number 55 and 11 connected to the mantis? I had another dream that 55 is mantis and 11 is Sasani. What does this mean?
5 is the number of humanity. The idea is that you create synchronistic numbers for yourself to let yourself know, as like road signs, when you are in the correct vibration to move forward, to come from, to act from in your life. So all the numbers are basically representative of connecting to the one, but expressing it through your human self in a way that is more representative of your higher mind, of your soul, the one.
Okay. And is the flower iris somehow connected to any of the hybrid children?
Yes, it is not only the name of a hybrid child, the idea of the iris is that which opens up wider to allow more light in.
Yes.
It is not just the idea of the flower. It is more the idea of the iris that opens in your eye, the iris that opens in a camera lens to allow more light in. So open up and let more light in. Let go of the old baggage that's holding you down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this serve you?
That serves me very much. Thank you.
All right. We thank you. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hey Bashar, this is your friend Teresa. Back in 1995, someone asked you about a race that he was calling the unseen ethereals because of their very pleasant ethereal aspect, as opposed to the fearful experience he was having with the Greys. You told him that that was a race you would call the founders, and that he was experiencing only one part of their nature, only the ethereal part of their nature, and that there was much more to them. And I'm wondering if you could talk more about the founders now. Have things changed enough since 1995 that you can give us more information on the founders? Thanks, Bashar.
No. However, there may be more about that group that will be presented within 3 to 5 of your years, not necessarily from us, but more information about them within 3 to 5 of your years, coming from a different source.
If we do a misstep on one of these steps, like if we look into a conspiracy theory or get into some religious spiritual argument with someone, if we notice it, learn from how it feels and adjust, are we back on track, so to speak? Is there anything more we need to do if that happens?
No. If you learn from it, then if you go back into the instruction in the way it was delivered, then you are back on track. So learn a lesson, learn why you may have desire to engage in that way, and then get back into the vibrational state as encouraged by the step. And realize that it's not necessary to venture that way again. Unless you do, then again, learn from it, learn why you chose to go in that direction. This can be used, like a lot of other things, to determine what your belief systems are and why you choose to do what you do. So if you use it that way, then you are learning, you are growing. But again, the idea is to realize that there is no need to do it, and that following the instruction more precisely will be to your advantage in creating the vibrational frequency that will bring you into alignment with contact and the interstellar alliance, if that is what you prefer.
Okay. And in step 1, you said not to engage in discussions about conspiracy theories in general. Given that the UFO cover-up has been considered as conspiracy theory, but is an actual conspiracy, would engaging in conversation about it be considered going against the rule of step 1?
No, because it is beyond theory at this point. There are too many witnesses, too many sources, too many verifications from many different people. And therefore, it is out of the category of theory. So you can research, you can discuss. It has been suppressed and covered up. At this point, it is relatively obvious that there is enough research, enough validation from so many different sources of different types that you can consider it to be something that is real.
And does watching videos or stories about true or not true conspiracy theories and stories go against the interstellar experiment? What I mean is, I enjoy watching these forms of entertainment without being emotionally affected.
If it is research, if you can remain neutral in observing all of the input from those particular presentations, then it is research. But the idea is to allow yourself to pay attention to whether you are becoming caught up in it once again, if you ever were, and to remain neutral in the observation of those things so that you don't necessarily develop a strong opinion in one direction or another about what is true about them or not. If it is too challenging for you to not form an opinion, to not have strong perspectives on what it is you are watching, what it is you are absorbing, then again, it would be best for now to back off and remain neutral and maybe not absorb as much of the information. But if you can remain completely neutral, completely objective, and allow it all to simply be information for the purpose of research, then it is fine. But you have to pay attention honestly as to whether that's what you're doing or not.
Okay, and because you will be discussing in step 3 writing letters to specific individual officials around the globe regarding disclosure of UFO contact, and in doing so providing specific wording for us to use, I would appreciate if you could also give us instructions for non-native speakers of English. Is it okay to translate the wording you provided into our own native language and use it in whatever ways you may suggest? And is it okay to share what I have translated with the people of my own country who would also like to join the social experiment, so they can also send letters to specific individuals?
Yes, that is fine. However, one suggestion we would have would be, don't necessarily rely on your own translation unless you are a professional interpreter, a professional translator who is absolutely certain that your translation is accurate in terms of the intention and meaning behind the words that are delivered in English. So you can translate it into different languages, but for those who are not proficient at the translation, then we would suggest that you find someone who is and ask them if the translation, or ask them to translate it in a way that captures fully the exact meaning of the original language. So if you can do that, and you can know that it is accurately representative, then that is fine.
And also, one question that came up, some individuals may feel anxiety about being perceived as some sort of target or part of some conspiracy or something in their land. And what are some suggestions for dealing with anxiety about, in a sense, sticking out or making yourself, I guess you'd say, a target or something like that?
Well, this simply goes back to some of the original ideas we have discussed for many years. You have to examine your belief system and find out why you are perceiving this in a fear-based or negative way. If the idea is too challenging for you, then as we have said, it's up to you to decide not to be a part of the social experiment. As the word implies, it is a social experiment, which means it requires interaction with society. So if you find that too challenging and are unable to let go of any fear-based or negative beliefs you have surrounding your participation in this social experiment, then don't participate. Otherwise, get in touch with your belief systems as to why you believe that it would be a negative thing to move forward in this way, and learn to let them go. Learn to let those beliefs go. Learn to transform them into something more positive so that you can be coming from your self-empowerment, your indestructible core. But again, as always, it is up to you to decide whether this is something that you are capable of participating in or not.
And also the idea of, I guess, thousands of letters going out all over the planet. What do you anticipate would be the reaction from administrative levels of our planet to that kind of thing, onslaught happening?
One particular reaction would be that they understand that there is organization to these thoughts, that there is unification to these thoughts, that there is similarity beyond borders, beyond cultures. This is something that can awaken them to realize that this is an important issue to look at, an important issue to address. Beyond that, there is no insistence or expectation, but we know that that recognition will occur in many individuals when they see a massive amount of individuals, regardless of country, regardless of background, regardless of other belief systems, unified in the idea of requesting the release of this information.
Okay. And when you talk about the hybridization agenda by the Greys, it sounds like humanity agreed to it in some higher level, that the Earth becoming the sixth hybrid race is a part of that agenda, and this has already been decided. If humanity on a conscious level became aware of this as a fact, it would have been looked at as a silent, covert invasion and not something positive or beneficial. I suppose this is why it is being carried out in secret from the majority of the population. How would you explain this conundrum? Is the slow drip disclosure a part of making the general population accustomed to the idea? Would not carrying out this agenda result in humanity going the path of the negative timeline the Greys experienced?
No.
And without white lies, how would you explain it if you had an opportunity to have a transmission that the entire Earth could hear?
Again, the idea is that understanding your connection to your galactic family, awakening to your true potential, awakening to the agreements that you have made for the evolution of humanity would do exactly the opposite of allowing you to go down the negative path that the Greys took. It would allow you more opportunity to choose the path that you prefer in a positive way. The idea of secrecy is, as you say, euphemistically, a kind of drip system that allows humanity to get used to the idea, but it is also what gives humanity the time to awaken and remember that they made this agreement so that it doesn't feel forced, so that it doesn't feel like an invasion, as you say, so that you can take responsibility for the part you are playing in having made an agreement from a higher level to aid and assist in the evolution of humanity in this format, in this way. And it is the acceptance of this responsibility and the awakening to the memory of the choice that you made as a collective that would allow you to be able to choose a more positive path and not go down the path that the Greys took in their reality.
And so the idea of this being a timeline for humanity, it's just one timeline. So of course there will be those individuals who would not want to participate in this direction for humanity.
Yes, and they will have their own reality. They will move on and proceed as if this didn't happen. There are many versions of Earth and many different scenarios that you can navigate to that will fit what you prefer based on the belief system you hold to be true.
So someone who's highly focused on the Earth and ecological issues and wanting the planet to become more and more beautiful and not with conflict, a peaceful, wonderful place, heaven on earth, so to speak. They can have that experience without becoming part of the hybridization timeline. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, of course. Again, there is a kind of mass consensus in large part with humanity to have agreed to the idea of aligning with open contact and aligning with the idea of the hybridization program, aligning with the vibration of the interstellar alliance. Obviously, what we are suggesting in these steps are the steps that are necessary to align with that particular Earth reality for those who have chosen it. But yes, of course, there is always the availability of other versions of parallel realities, parallel versions of Earth, that don't necessarily include what it is that we are suggesting in these steps. And that is why we tell you it's up to you to decide to participate or not, so that you can feel it out for yourselves as to what kind of reality you have chosen to prefer, you have chosen to be a part of, what group you have chosen to navigate to different Earths with. However, the vast majority of individuals who are exploring the idea of the expansion of consciousness on your planet at this time, again, not that all of them have to have chosen this, but the vast majority, as we perceive it, of those who are exploring the expansion of consciousness have agreed to participate in this particular form of humanity's evolution. And those are the ones we are speaking to. And only those.
With the countdown and fireworks. I see the governments of Earth declare that they have opened their borders and burned their weapons. Every time I get that image, I get excited. I want to know if that image will happen on Earth, and if so, will it happen before we join the Interstellar Alliance or after? Is that something that has already happened in another version of Earth?
It is something that exists in many other versions of Earth, and you have to decide exactly whether or not you are navigating in that direction. There is a high probability that many of you are. The idea of such a thing would happen after open contact, but it would have to happen before you are officially joined to the Interstellar Alliance. So in between the idea of contact and the idea of actually joining the Interstellar Alliance is where something like that would most likely fall.
Okay. Now this person is asking about the formula, and they say they live by the formula, but they can't seem to make it work.
Then they don't live by the formula.
Excuse me?
Then they do not live by the formula.
Right. They're saying that I was raised with beliefs like work before play, you have to earn your fun, life is hard, you can have too much of a good thing. I find it incredibly difficult to find and change the belief systems behind these. How can I learn to feel joy and passion and be sure that I am living the formula as a self-organizing principle?
Well, again, you have to actually live the formula, which you're not doing, because you're not allowing yourself to redefine some of those belief systems in certain ways that serve you. For example, when you talk about the idea that you have to earn the ability to be happy, you do not have to do that. You have to understand that joy is a natural state that belongs in your spirit, that is an expression of spiritual existence. You have to understand that the definitions you have are not working for you. You have to understand there are other definitions that would work for you and be more in alignment with the idea of what the formula is telling you, of what the formula is saying and how it works. So you have to match the definitions you have with the way that the formula has been described to you as working for you to your advantage. If you hold on to definitions that are contradictory to it, then yes, you are not using the formula. It will not work because they are of a different frequency, of a different vibration than the vibrational frequency of actually following and acting on the formula in the way that it has been delivered to you. So examine these definitions in a way that allows you to reinvent them, to understand that you don't have to hold on to them in the way that you have vocalized them. The idea is that, yes, of course, there will be challenges, but challenges are fun. Yes, of course, you have to take physical action, but that does not have to be a struggle. It does not have to feel like, quote unquote, work in the negative sense. Of course, you are physical and will have to do things physically. But when you are going with the flow, when you are being your true self, then all the definitions that you are now saying that don't work for you can be rearranged and reinvented to understand how they can work for you, such as what I just delivered to you, what I just suggested. That work does not have to feel like a struggle, does not have to feel like an effort. There are certain kinds of tensions and pressures that are positive and creative. Again, you have to allow yourself to feel it that way. Because when you are being creative, when you are being yourself, again, of course, you will have challenges because challenges help you grow, help your soul grow, help your spirit grow. So the idea is that there will be a kind of pressure, a creative pressure there. But the pressure that you experience in a positive sense is not the same kind of pressure that you experience in a negative sense. The pressure you experience in a positive sense is a kind of energy momentum that encourages and urges you to move forward, to take action, to be yourself, to be centered, to be true to who you are. The kind of pressure that you experience in the negative sense is the kind that allows you to feel overwhelmed, that you're not doing enough, that things aren't good enough. The idea that you can have too much of a good thing is what sets up the negative pressure. Now, we understand that some of these phrases that exist on your planet are done to make sure that you don't become egotistical about it. That's really the reason that some of them exist, so that you can always have a check and balance system in case you are worried that you will become too egotistical, too out of integrity, too out of alignment. That's the only reason they exist. If you recognize them simply as a check and balance system that can be understood lightly, and you understand you're always willing to check in with yourself to make sure that you are remaining in alignment and always within your integrity, then it's all right for now and then to experience that you might step a little bit outside of it, because you know you will always bring yourself back into alignment by having that check and balance system. But the check and balance system is not meant to be a rigid shackle on you that prevents you from exploring, that prevents you from being yourself, that prevents you from knowing that happiness is your birthright. So you have to take these things that you have said, these admonitions, these phrases, these sayings, a little bit more lightly as a check and balance system, just to make sure that you're staying true to yourself and not see them as such a rigid set of rules that cannot be broken in any event for any reason whatsoever. Just keep them as an understanding that you are always willing to be aware of when you are in or out of balance, and you can move forward by acting on the formula in a freer way that allows you to know you will always pay attention to what you're doing, you will always ask why you believe what you believe, and you will always check yourself to make sure you're remaining true and within integrity to your core vibration, your essential self. So treat those phrases more lightly, and you don't have to necessarily feel so impeded by them to be yourself and feel joy in your life and be a creative, imaginative being who is more than capable of following the formula and experiencing the ease and flow of how your life will unfold in a more natural way.
And this next question says, if people always follow their excitement, the dishes will never get washed, the laundry will never get done, and the garbage will never be picked up. How is society supposed to function like that?
That's a perfect example right there of somebody assuming that those things can never be exciting, They are having a negative definition of those things because they are believing that those things have to be negative. Nothing could be further from the truth. There are many individuals who enjoy washing the dishes because as the water, the warm water flows over their hands and they are meditating on washing the dishes, it is like falling into a meditation, which they actually enjoy. And some individuals can use that to give themselves a break, to take a moment of pause and just do something physically simple that allows them to feel more organized, allows them to feel that things are cleaner, allows them to feel in a more meditative state, a relaxed state, doing something simple as they may gaze out the window and look at the neighborhood around them while they are doing that. You have to be very, very aware of when you yourself are making an assumption that certain things are automatically negative when they don't have to be. So all of those things can still be done, and people can also invent new ways of doing those things if it is true that none of them actually is representative of their passion. You've already invented things like machinery to wash dishes and so on and so forth, machinery to collect and process the idea of waste in a more automated way. So that's also part of you being imaginative and creative and inventive enough to do that, but cannot come from the assumption that those things are automatically negative, because assuming that they are isn't what serves you, because there are people who actually find those endeavors to be relaxing, exciting, meditative, so on and so forth, for a variety of different reasons. So the first step is not to assume that those things are negative just because you have chosen to experience them that way.
Okay, and this person is saying, I need help finding my highest passion.
One moment. We're going to add something else to that last question.
Okay.
You have to understand also that sometimes the people that do things in society, like collect the garbage, as you say, are providing a service to humanity. So it's all about understanding some of these things also, doing laundry, collecting garbage, as doing service to a family, service to humanity, service to groups. The assumption that those things are automatically negative blocks individuals from understanding that being willing to do those things is actually providing a service for certain individuals. And service to humanity is how you allow yourself to find your center in many cases.
In
Please.
fact, aren't we hardwired in the sense that being of service raises our vibration? It's one of the highest endeavors, in a sense, that you can
Yes.
offer in your reality. And, you know, you see this quite often in the early in teachings of many
Yes.
different perspectives that
Yes, but we are getting ahead of ourselves because this issue will be one of the steps coming up in the near future.
Okay.
We will address it then.
All righty. So this person is having trouble finding their highest passion, and people seem to progress in life, getting married, having kids, buying houses, buying cars, following their interests and traveling. I feel my life isn't moving anywhere. I am at the same place in life that I was 6 years ago. I know it may not be 100% true as I have grown at work. However, the other aspects of my life have not progressed. Now, when I meet my friends who have moved on in life, I feel I am missing out, and I wonder what my purpose really is. I feel low at times, wondering if my spiritual practices are helping at all. That is this individual's experience right now.
Yes. Well, there's two things that we can address about this immediately. Number one is what we have always said, is that the idea of your passion doesn't have to be big things, so to speak. Doesn't have to be a career, doesn't have to be a large-scale project. At any given moment, you have a number of options available to you that are everyday things. Just always choose the one first that has more exciting, more attractiveness to it, more curiosity to it than any other choice, and do that first. And continue to do that as you unfold. Sometimes things will come along that will synchronistically be opportunities to do bigger things, bigger versions of acting on your excitement, but it isn't necessary that that happens. Because again, as long as you are always choosing what is more exciting than anything else, even on a simple level, then you are following the formula and you are having a life of following your passion. Again, passion doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be jumping up and down with your hair on fire or doing monumental things. But the idea in general is that this person is doing something where they're comparing themselves to other people, which you never should do. Because the idea is you are a unique individual. And what may feel like an expansion to someone won't necessarily feel like an expansion to you. So you have to get in touch with the fact that in talking about doing spiritual practices, that these spiritual practices include the idea of actually acting physically on the things that are representative of having more excitement than any other choice in them. Because many times people on your planet, when they talk about doing spiritual practices, are simply doing things for themselves and not for others in terms of sharing their gifts. They're not examining what they could be doing in service to humanity that is representative of being of service. A lot of times the idea of acting on your passion means you are giving something to someone else. You are actually expressing a gift that other people will find necessary to receive in their lives. So while it's all well and good that you feel you are growing at work, and that should be a signal to you of what we're talking about, because growing at work means you are doing something that is helping other people. You are being of service in the job that you do for the other people also doing similar jobs in the same business. So that should be your first clue that in order to expand your life in other areas, you also need to be doing things that are serving other people. If you have gifts to share, share them. If you need to write a book, write it. If you need to do a piece of art, do it. If you need to compose a piece of music, do it. The idea is that if you're holding your gifts back, if you're not acting on those things outwardly in service to humanity to give them things they may be waiting for you to give them, then that's why your life is not expanding, because you're not actually taking the action on the things that would be the gifts that you have to share with humanity. So take a cue from the fact that you have grown at work, doing something that helps other people, and incorporate that attitude and that behavior in the rest of your life by doing the things you are passionate to do.